Apologies are a curious thing, aren't they? They hang in the air like a thick fog, heavy with unspoken words, and yet somehow they seem to elude the grasp of those who need to utter them the most. I've often wondered why some people find it so difficult to say those two simple words, "I'm sorry." It's almost as if the very act of apologizing is a betrayal of their own existence, a chink in the armor they've so carefully constructed around themselves. And if you've ever encountered a narcissist, you'll know exactly what I mean. Their reluctance to apologize is not just a quirk of personality. It's a complex web of fear, insecurity, and a desperate need for control. Let's start with the foundation of it all: self-image. For a narcissist, their self-worth is intricately tied to how they perceive themselves and how they believe others perceive them. They've built this grandiose image, a towering edifice of confidence and superiority, and any admission of wrongdoing threatens to topple it. To apologize would mean acknowledging that they are fallible, that they are, in fact, human. And that's a terrifying prospect. They've spent so long curating this persona, this larger-than-life character that demands admiration and respect. An apology would be like admitting that the emperor has no clothes, and who wants to be the one to strip away that illusion? Then there's the fear of vulnerability. Apologizing requires a level of humility that a narcissist simply cannot afford. It's an act of surrender, of laying bare one's flaws and mistakes, and that's a risk they're not willing to take. Vulnerability is a double-edged sword. It can lead to deeper connections and understanding, but it can also expose one to criticism and rejection. For someone who thrives on control and admiration, the thought of being vulnerable is akin to stepping into a lion's den. They'd rather maintain the facade of invincibility than risk being seen as weak or flawed. So they dig their heels in, refusing to apologize, convinced that maintaining their image is worth more than the potential for genuine connection. And let's not forget the role of manipulation. Narcissists are often masters of the emotional game, adept at twisting situations to their advantage. Apologizing would mean relinquishing some of that power, and they're not about to hand over the reins. Instead, they'll deflect, gaslight, or outright deny any wrongdoing. It's a tactic that keeps them in control, allowing them to manipulate the narrative to suit their needs. If they can convince others that the fault lies elsewhere, that they're the victim in this scenario, then they can avoid the uncomfortable task of owning up to their mistakes. It's a dance of deception, and they're the ones leading the charge. But perhaps the most insidious reason behind their reluctance to apologize is the deep-seated fear of abandonment. Beneath that bravado lies a fragile core, one that is terrified of being left alone or rejected. An apology could be seen as a sign of weakness, and in their minds, weakness is synonymous with unworthiness. They believe that if they show any sign of remorse, they'll be cast aside, abandoned by those they seek to impress. So they cling to their pride, convinced that maintaining a facade of strength will keep people close. It's a tragic irony, really. In their quest for validation and connection, they end up pushing people away, all because they can't bring themselves to say, "I'm sorry." And let's talk about entitlement. Narcissists often operate under the belief that they are above the rules that govern ordinary interactions. They see themselves as special, deserving of admiration and respect, and this sense of entitlement extends to their behavior. They may genuinely believe that their actions are justified, that they're above reproach. Why should they apologize when they see themselves as the victim or the misunderstood genius? To them, an apology would be an admission of guilt, and they refuse to accept that they could ever be in the wrong. It's a warped perspective, one that distorts reality to fit their narrative. Moreover, there's a profound lack of empathy that permeates their interactions. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, to put oneself in someone else's shoes. For a narcissist, this capacity is severely diminished. They may recognize that someone is hurt by their actions, but they struggle to connect with that pain on a deeper level. Their focus is often on their own feelings and experiences, leaving little room for the emotions of others. As a result, the idea of apologizing may not even register as a necessary step in the healing process. They simply don't grasp the impact of their actions on those around them. And without that understanding, the motivation to apologize dwindles. It's also worth considering the role of past experiences in shaping this behavior. Many narcissists have faced significant trauma or neglect in their formative years, leading them to develop a defensive mechanism that prioritizes self-preservation above all else. They've learned that vulnerability is dangerous, that admitting fault can lead to punishment or rejection, so they build walls, fortifying themselves against the world. Apologizing would mean tearing down those walls, exposing their vulnerabilities, and risking the very rejection they've spent a lifetime avoiding. It's a cycle of fear and defense that perpetuates their reluctance to apologize. And yet, there's a paradox at play here. While they may refuse to apologize, they often demand apologies from others. It's a classic case of double standards, where they expect those around them to acknowledge their mistakes while they remain steadfast in their refusal to do the same. This inconsistency can be infuriating for those on the receiving end, as it highlights the narcissist's inability to see beyond their own needs and desires. They may view themselves as the moral authority, the one who is always right, while simultaneously dismissing the feelings and experiences of others. It's a skewed worldview that perpetuates their sense of superiority and entitlement. As I reflect on all of this, I can't help but feel a sense of sadness for those who find themselves entangled in the web of a narcissist's reluctance to apologize. It's a lonely existence, one marked by a constant struggle for validation and connection. The inability to apologize creates a chasm between the narcissist and those around them, a divide that can be difficult to bridge. Relationships become transactional, built on a foundation of manipulation and control, rather than genuine understanding and empathy. It's a tragic cycle, one that leaves both parties feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. In the end, the reasons behind a narcissist's reluctance to apologize are as complex as the individuals themselves. It's a tangled web of fear, insecurity, entitlement, and a profound lack of empathy. They cling to their pride, convinced that maintaining their image is worth more than the potential for genuine connection. And while they may never fully grasp the impact of their actions on others, the consequences of their reluctance to apologize ripple outward, affecting not only their relationships, but also their own sense of self-worth. So what can be done in the face of this reluctance? For those who find themselves navigating the tumultuous waters of a relationship with a narcissist, it's essential to establish boundaries. Recognizing that their inability to apologize is not a reflection of your worth can be liberating. It's a reminder that you deserve to be treated with respect and understanding, even if the narcissist is unable to provide that. Surrounding yourself with supportive individuals who validate your feelings can also help counteract the emotional toll that comes with engaging with a narcissist. Ultimately, the journey toward healing and understanding is a personal one. It requires acknowledging the complexities of human behavior while also recognizing the importance of self-care and self-compassion. While a narcissist may never apologize, you have the power to reclaim your narrative, to seek out connections that are built on mutual respect and understanding. In doing so, you can break free from the cycle of manipulation and control, forging a path toward genuine connection and fulfillment. And perhaps, in that journey, you'll find the strength to let go of the need for an apology, embracing the freedom that comes with understanding the reasons behind their reluctance.